Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, welcome to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. That's right, people. I still have at least two because I have two people here in the building with me in the land of post-COVID virus. We are actually looking at each other, not on Zoom. Hi.
Hi.
I have Lisa and Brian Boyle. Thanks for coming in. What I'd like to do in the three segments that we're talking is really help people find an avenue to help them get unstuck. As we all know, the last year was unprecedented. I think the last time we had a world pandemic was 1918, and I don't think any of us were alive. I'm old, but I'm not that old. And so we go about our day each and every day. Here we are in June 2021, over a year from when that pandemic started. And I'm seeing stress manifest itself differently with different people everywhere. Part of this equation is financial. Part of the small business community has been really pretty hammered on. Even though the printing press at the Federal Reserve was working overtime, again, that's not a sustainable solution for anybody. That's a Band-Aid. And right now, I am seeing more people than ever in an ever-changing landscape with more and more people moving here from somewhere else, and the prices of homes and groceries and fuel with inflationary pressures rising and rising and rising, yet their income from their day job is not. So my goal, and I've talked about this many times with many people, is to help transform lives at Keller Williams to the life people want and the life they deserve, using real estate as the vehicle to do that. And you two, Lisa and Brian Boyle, are great examples of people that had the courage to be unstuck. So if it's okay with you, I thought we'd just tell a little story in these segments about where you once were, not specifically, but where you were in life, where you are now over the next three segments, and where you hope to go. And maybe talk through the lens of someone that's listening, saying, man, my life is in turmoil, or my life's okay, but I'm just not getting satisfied. I feel like I'm stuck. I mean, I'm making okay money, or maybe I'm not making enough money, but I want to change. And so let me start with you, Lisa, because you started with us about a year ago. You came from another real estate company, but you hadn't been in real estate that long, right? Overall.
Yeah, I'm going on about 3 years, a little over 3 years in total.
Right, and you're one of the top producers in the entire, you and Brian and your team, you guys are in the top 2% probably in all of real estate in just your third year. So you started in real estate. So when you look back at traditional real estate or other organizations, and what was it that attracted you? More so, not so much what you didn't like where you were, what wasn't working, but what attracted you to the idea of Keller Williams?
What attracted me to Keller Williams was the culture and the flexibility, freedom, and support that was offered and presented to me. Once I sat down with a member of Keller Williams and heard how it was structured and what would be supplied to me as an individual agent, it became a no-brainer and a split-second decision that turned out to be one of the greatest decisions of my life.
Wow. So when you hear people say, well, you're just drinking the Kool-Aid, now that you've been with us a year, how's the Kool-Aid tasting?
Amazing.
That's awesome. So, and then Brian, you guys are husband and wife. And Brian, you came on a little bit later, maybe August of last year, right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel like since you've been doing that, things have worked out for you guys?
For us, it was it's probably the best decision that I've ever made. I was pretty hesitant with, Lisa's decision to make a change.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that I remember we had we had dinner at, what was that place we had dinner in Leavenworth?
Visconti's.
Visconti's. We all had a little get together and had some food, and we were able to talk. And And I remember you were kind of like going, kind of giving everybody the eye, like, is this Kool-Aid real or is this just a bunch of smoke and mirrors? And because one of the hardest things to do is when someone is doing relatively well in their career, which you were. So when you said you were hesitant, I can imagine that is a big risk, right? Like if you're doing relatively well, but maybe you're not as happy as you feel like you can be, it's not easy to say, all right, I'm just going to start over with a new firm, right? So when you met us, I think so often the term relationship is used appropriately because it's really this business is really about relationships, right? Like it's about trust and who you work with, who is giving you support. So I'd like to hear, like, if you guys can remember, like after that meeting, what was your conversation like between the two of you?
Well, between the two of us, I am always more the optimist and dive, full into something, as where Brian is the more reserved and analytical and needs to sit and really think things through. So the fact that him and I, being polar opposites, walked out of that dinner and that meeting with the exact same mindset, that spoke volumes for us. Because it is very rarely that we right off the bat agree and have the same mindset. We usually have a little bit of a banter and negotiations between us. So we both walked out very positive and said, yes, this is what our life needs. This is the direction that we were wanting. This is where we want to see our future go.
Yeah, well, that's good. Banter's good. Iron sharpens iron, right? So, Brian, when you give me, you'll call me once in a while, and would you say it's a fair statement that I'm available to answer your questions?
Yeah, I mean, you've always been there. You've been there every single time. Maybe not right away. Within maybe 5 minutes, you call me back, and you're there to help guide and coach us through any situation.
Yeah, and that's an interesting word, situations, because real estate has an infinite number of situations. I often tell people that there's 1,000 ways to sell real estate, and there's 1,000 deals a day that you can do. And part of the excitement for some is that unpredictability, or at least that idea that you're never going to stop learning, right? I mean, the only thing I know for sure after 30 years in this game, 30 plus years in this game, is that it is a game, number one. It's just a game, just like playing football, basketball, baseball, or skiing, or whatever. Just a sport. That's how I look at it. And that it's never the same. Honestly, real estate is probably one of those crazy games that if you approach it incorrectly, with the wrong mindset, it can burn you out, right? I mean, that's normal for a lot of people. That's why they say, and 80% of the realtors that get their license are out of the business in the first year. And support and culture is a big part of that success. So with everything being different every day, and if you put yourself in the mindset of somebody right now that's thinking about real estate as an option, like Lisa, what was your first thought when you were in the real estate business, and try to put yourself back in that mindset before you knew really anything? What was the most influential thing you could now say to that Lisa 3 years ago that was just getting started?
The unpredictability is a blessing, and looking back on where I was right before going into real estate, which was a typical 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job, I would not be able to step back into that. So the unknown of each day is an excitement and a blessing and ability to do better than you did the previous day.
Right. And then as you're building your team now and you're working with your clients, what I love about what you guys have done is you've been patient. Like Brian waited. You have a family, you have kids. You're, as you said, Brian's more conservative, you're more aggressive, but together you find this good chemistry which a lot of people don't have, right? So there's a lot of fear based around change. There's an enormous amount of fear, and the need for certainty is such a powerful thing for most people. When we come back, I'd love to talk about how did you overcome the fear in order to take that leap of faith into something that's commission-based, out of that 9-to-5 job. And then, Brian, for you, how did you find the courage or the actual step forward? Because I just see so many people that really have such great personalities. They're good people. And I think sometimes they make real estate out to be this mystical monster that is really unattainable for them. When in fact, I believe if you're a good person and you have good work ethic, you're honest, you're integrity-based, and you're willing to work hard, anybody can do this business, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes not what other people think when they look at it from the outside looking in. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes with Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. And today it's Lisa and Brian Boyle.
Keller Williams.